Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be about K-pop and basically just kind of wrestling with the question of if K-pop is cultural appropriation. Now, just to make a few things clear, I'm only going to be talking about K-pop and cultural appropriation as it relates to Black culture, just because, of course, that's the one that I know most about. But I would be definitely happy and open to any discussion of any other culture that you might think that K-pop is appropriating. But yeah, that's going to be the main focus of today's video. And also, if you're going to come here just to troll me and try to troll my comment section and not really have an intelligent discussion, then just please leave. There's no point in being here if you're not going to be able to listen to people maybe criticizing your fave. Like, I don't know what to tell you, grow up. But before I do get into this video, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and please do turn on the post notifications so that you are notified of the next time that I post a video. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the video. So let's just dive into a little bit of background and history of K-pop before we get into my thoughts on it and everything like that, just to give a little bit of context as to what we're talking about. So K-pop is Korean pop music that encompasses a lot of different types of genres. I think a lot of hip-hop influences, R&B, just Western pop music in general. A lot of those influences are definitely very noticeable in K-pop. It sounds a lot like Western music, and specifically, let's be more specific, Western music that was made by Black people. And the biggest groups in K-pop are BTS, a huge group, like it's huge, all around the world. EXO, Blackpink, Luna, they're all really big groups around the world. They have a very large fan base, and the K-pop stans are not afraid to come for you and come for your throat. They literally have so-and-so is over parties literally every day for nothing, just to get their fan cams trending. It's just, it is what it is. But they have a huge fan base around the world. Now, modern K-pop, I guess, originally took flight when a group called, and I'm sorry if I pronounced this incorrectly. I looked up how to pronounce it in Google Translate, but if I pronounced it incorrectly, I am very sorry. I really am trying to say this correctly. But Seo Taiji and boys appeared on a Korean talent show in 1992, and from then on, K-pop kind of took off, and this modern style of K-pop took off, and from then on spawned a lot of big groups that have really taken over in the past few years around the world. Now, my personal opinion on K-pop, I've never liked K-pop, I'm not gonna lie. It's just not the type of music that I like, for a few reasons. Obviously, I'm not trying to knock anyone. If you like it, I'm happy for you. I just simply am not really into it. I don't really like the sound of it that much. But I just don't really care for the music. It's a little, I don't know, I'm just not really into it. I don't really like anything about it, actually. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the dancing is sometimes cool, but sometimes I feel like it's just a little too forced, I guess. And I'm not really into the music itself, not really into anything about it. So yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to knock anyone, nor does that mean that I have any like hatred for any of these groups or anything like that. It's not for me. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and switch gears a little bit. I talked about my personal opinion, but I now kind of want to give you a more objective analysis of K-pop and if it is cultural appropriation. And to do that, I would have to give a definition. One critique that I have of a lot of people that might talk about cultural appropriation is that they never really give a definition that they're using. So it can sometimes come off as confusing for people that are trying to understand what cultural appropriation is. Therefore, I've decided to give you the definition that I'm using. I just found this from Google, and I didn't just Google this and then just say, oh, well, I like this one. I thought that this definition not only made sense, but it just seems kind of like the more widely accepted definition. So this definition is the unacknowledged or inappropriate adoption of the customs, practices, ideas, etc. of one people or society by members of another, and typically more dominant people or society. So that's the definition that I will be using for the rest of this video. You might see cultural appropriation as something different than what this definition is, and that is okay. But for the sake of making everything clear, and also for the sake of my sanity, when doing these types of analyses, I do have to have some type of definition, and this is the definition that I chose. And the reason why we're even talking about cultural appropriation as far as K-pop goes is because many people have claimed that K-pop is cultural appropriation. K-pop takes a lot from Black culture, Western Black culture. It takes a lot of inspiration from R&B and hip hop. From the dancing to the way that they dress, to the sound of their music, to the rapping in the songs. It's clearly very much taken from a lot of Black culture. That's one thing that I noticed immediately when I was introduced to K-pop, is how much they were taking from Black culture. And I'm not necessarily knocking that, because I've seen a lot of people take from Black culture or take inspiration from Black culture. But I think now a lot of people might question K-pop because of the unacknowledged and inappropriate adoption of these customs, practices, ideas, etc. And there's a reason for that, and I'm going to get into that right now. So, is K-pop cultural appropriation? This question has been kind of tough for me to wrestle with, because I do think that there is a level of being sort of uncomfortable when you see people kind of blatantly taking from Black culture and you don't see any Black people. And you're like, what's going on here? I don't see any Black people, but I see you doing a lot of Black stuff, and it's just not, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel the same. Honestly, it feels kind of like you're trying to copy something, but you don't have the correct ink. It feels like you're trying to recreate a painting, but you don't have the correct paint. And it's like, it's pretty, it can be pretty, but it's not the same. And if you had just bought the correct ink or gotten the correct paint, you could have done that. I don't know if that makes any sense. I just came up with that out of the blue, but it's making sense in my mind. However, there are worms in my brain, so who knows. But anyways, I think with K-pop, I've always looked at it, and I've looked at the dancing and the style and just the hair, and I'm just like, oh, I mean, yeah, y'all are looking like you kind of want to do the whole let's play Black thing, but do you really like Black people? And I think that is where the inappropriate and unacknowledged part, unacknowledged and inappropriate adoption part comes in with cultural appropriation. I don't think that inspiration or appreciation is appropriation. There is a very, I think, distinct difference, and you can tell when someone is appropriating rather than just being inspired and thinking, oh, that's cool, I want to do that too, and it not really being anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell. At least I can tell. I can tell when people just like something and want to do it too. I'm not going to be mad, honestly, personally, I'm not going to be mad at people when they wear dreads because I think it's cool. Because of the simple fact that a lot of Black people wear dreads, and it doesn't have any cultural significance to them either. They're just wearing dreads. So if we're gonna gatekeep, we need to keep that same energy within the community, in my personal opinion. But that's just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people might disagree with me on that point, and I respect that, because I can see why people would say what they say. But I just feel like if you're gonna gatekeep, you should keep that same energy within the community. Anyways, that's beside the point. My issue lies in when people are racist and then take Black culture. And that's where I think it becomes cultural appropriation. That's when I think it becomes an issue. When it's unacknowledged, for one thing. When you just take, let's say you take cornrows and you start to call them French braids. Like, girl, bye. Like, you know what they are. You just don't want to call them cornrows because you want to somehow act like you're not doing the ghetto version of this hairstyle, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? That's when it becomes cultural appropriation. Or when you don't like Black people and you're taking from Black culture. And in South Korea, racism is very prevalent, especially against Black people, as it is in like every other country. Like, literally, people just don't like Black people wherever we go, man. We can't get a break. But anyways, that's one thing that kind of made me feel uncomfortable about K-pop, was me thinking in the back of my head, racism is so prevalent there and they don't have that many Black people, so it just felt weird. It's like, how are you taking from a culture that you're not really around that much? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can see it on social media, but you're not interacting with Black people. Are you like hiring Black choreographers? Are you hiring Black producers? Like, how are you really using Black culture, but you're not going to give credit where credit is due, or, you know, give Black people their flowers? And I read up on some articles about K-pop and cultural appropriation, which there are a lot of articles. I'm going to link some down below that I found helpful in this video, but there are tons of articles about K-pop and cultural appropriation, which surprised me considering how quiet people are on this subject. But it basically talks about how different K-pop artists have done racist things. And that's where my issue lies. That's where I feel like the cultural appropriation really comes in K-pop, because it just seems to me like it's mind-boggling. How do you want to take from a culture of people that you actively dislike, that you've actively said racist things towards? Like Jimin from BTS, I didn't even know that he said something racist, but apparently he did. And that I don't understand how you can do all of these hip-hop moves in your dances and yet you're racist towards Black people. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense in my mind. And that's where cultural appropriation lies. That's where I feel like that's where it becomes inappropriate, because you don't even like these people, you know? Like, you don't even like Black people. Why are you taking from our culture? You don't even like us. Why are you dancing like us if you don't like us? Why are you wearing our hairstyles if you don't like us? Now, this is where my analysis kind of gets tricky, because I don't think that K-pop in and of itself is necessarily cultural appropriation. I think that anybody being inspired by a different culture is beautiful. Just because sharing culture and that's all, I think, just an amazing thing and something that we should honestly promote, I think that would help race relations in general. Is sharing of culture, is people understanding different cultures. I definitely think that would help. I don't think that would solve it by any means, but I think that it would definitely help. However, I do believe that certain people taking from Black culture, using Black culture, is cultural appropriation. So if at one point you said, ew, braids are ghetto, then don't wear braids. Don't do that unless you like legitimately change your views and educate yourself and become educated on why that is wrong to say. Also, side note, But if you're not black, you really shouldn't wear braids or dreads also, because it could literally ruin your hair. It's not even for you. Like, genuinely, it's not for you. And I'm not even the type of person to really gatekeep as far as hairstyles. I don't really care that much, but your hair might fall out. It's not made for your type of hair. So you should probably, just not do it. I don't know, but that's just, whatever. Y'all do what y'all want to do, but I'm just saying it could really ruin your hair. But that's beside the point. If you at one point have said things like that, and then a few years later you want to turn around and wear braids because suddenly it's acceptable and suddenly it's a trend, that's cultural appropriation. That's where it becomes cultural appropriation. That's where I feel like, okay, now you're being disrespectful. You didn't like this hairstyle at one point. Why are you pretending to like it now? Why are you now hopping on a trend? I don't like that. I don't appreciate that. I don't respect that. And I feel like that is where cultural appropriation comes in. And also, I just would like to see K-pop stars and K-pop groups giving more of a platform to black people, collaborating with black people more. I read an article basically talking about how K-pop needs to collaborate with black artists more, and I fully agree with that point, because it's like, well, this is their art form. This is black art, so you should collaborate with black artists. Just because that makes sense and it's respectful, and it's like, you have such a big platform, you've profited so much from black culture that it's only right to give it back to black people and to help black people also profit. So whether it's hiring black choreographers, hiring black producers, having black people in the groups. There are black people in Korea. I mean, it might be very mono-ethnic, but there are some black people in Korea, and they do deserve to be seen. So have them be seen, instead of y'all just trying to play black. How about have a black person in there? Then you'd really make some money, but that's beside the point. Just giving black people what they're due for creating this art form that you have profited off of so much. Like, I don't know, I would feel weird about taking from a culture so much and not seeing anybody from that culture on set, in the recording studios or anything like that. So I'm not sure if they hire a lot of black artists and black creators, but if they aren't, which I highly doubt that they are, let's be honest, if they are not hiring black people, they need to start now. And also, I think that just in general, there is a way to not be tacky when you are inspired by black culture. Like this picture, I'm sorry, but it's just very tacky to me. It's clearly taking from black gang culture, which in and of itself isn't a great culture to take from. Let's keep it a buck. Like, it's really not. So many black people have been lost from that culture. It's not something to just, take and make a caricature. And there's a way to do hip hop and do rap and not look tacky, and this just looks tacky. There are some cases in cultural appropriation where I was just like, you look at it and you're just like, you can tell when something has gone off the edge in a way. But I think that with a lot of these artists, it's not enough to just make a one-time donation to the Black Lives Matter movement, because you've made gazillions of dollars from black people. The least you could do is give it right back as in hiring black people, rather than just making a one-time donation and acting as if everything is going to be great. So I don't know. That's just how I feel about a lot of them, trying to act as if, they're so for the Black Lives Matter movement. We're like, really put your money where your mouth is and just hire black people. Overall, my main point is that no, I don't believe that K-pop in and of itself is cultural appropriation. I actually very much enjoy seeing other cultures appreciate and be inspired by black culture. I think that that is a beautiful thing. However, when you profit so much from a culture that you honestly are not part of and probably know very little about, considering how, again, monoethnic Korea is, the least you could do is hire Black creators and not be racist. Like, taking from Black culture when you don't like Black people is such a slap in the face, especially when you make more money than a lot of other Black artists do from their own art form. So the least that you could do is, one, just not be racist. Don't get caught saying racist slurs. Don't do that. Like, just kind of be a decent human being, and hire Black creators, and don't be tacky. So that's really my main takeaway, is that as long as you're appreciating culture in a way that is respectful and that is giving back to the culture that has literally given you a career, I don't see a problem with it. So no, I don't think that K-pop is necessarily cultural appropriation. I do think that some of the artists are appropriating, but the art form itself, I don't believe, is cultural appropriation. So that is it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please enjoy this obligatory Tom Holland picture as I close out. But yeah, I hope you just enjoyed this video and kind of understood what I was saying. I know that I kind of was rambling a little bit and getting my thoughts kind of jumbled, but this is a very kind of confusing topic that I still think needs a lot of exploration. And I hope that at least you had some type of clarity, because I did give you the definition that I was kind of going off of, and I hope the main point at the end kind of put everything in a nice little box and put a bow on it, so that you really understood my point and what I was trying to say. But yeah, that is it for this video. If you did enjoy it, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Go ahead and comment down below what you think of this topic. Do you think that K-pop is cultural appropriation, and why? I'm totally open to hearing different perspectives, because this is a very deep conversation, and I hope that we continue to have a conversation about cultural appropriation. And I will be making more videos about cultural appropriation as far as Polynesian culture, because that is never talked about and it should be talked about. And please do subscribe to my channel, and please do turn on the post notifications so that you are notified of the next time that I post a video. So yeah, thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.